Today we're taking a look at Alteryx Weekly Challenge 210, Better Late Than Never, dealing with NBA draft picks and seeing who the latest draft picks to appear in an NBA All-Star game is, or who they are. This weekly challenge can be found on the Alteryx community site, as they always can be. We're given two data sources to work with here. For our input data, we're giving a listing of all of the All-Stars from 2000 through 2016. So we've got all kinds of information on them. We've got the year that they were an All-Star, their name, some information that we're not going to need, like their position, height, weight, the team that they're currently on, their selection type, or their nationality. We're not going to be worried about any of that information. And then we also have their NBA draft status, which has the year that they were drafted, the round that they were drafted in, and the pick number. And this is important because later on, we're going to have to go and see if they were in round 2 or in round 3. We're going to have to add up the total number of picks before them in order to get our overall pick number. Down below, we also have draft info. The NBA draft has changed over the years, so you can see that from 2005 on, there have always been 30 picks in round 1 and 30 picks in round 2. But before that, there used to be more picks in, more rounds run or less picks because there were less teams. So the NBA added some teams starting here in 2005, I guess is when the last team was added. Um, so yeah, let's dive on into this. Oh, let's go ahead and look at the output that we want. We're going to want to find the 3 latest drafted players to play in an NBA All-Star game between 2000 and 2016, which matches our input here. So we have Isaiah Thomas, who not Isaiah Thomas from the 80s, new Isaiah Thomas. We've got Manu Ginobili, go Spurs go, and then Anthony Mason as well. So the first thing that we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to use regex to pull out our NBA draft year, the round, and the overall pick number. So we're going to have 3 different fields that give us our draft year, our draft round, and our pick number. And we know that more than likely, we know that we're not going to have anybody from the first round being our latest pick. So we also know from the instructions that undrafted players are ineligible. So I'm going to create a filter here, and I'm only going to keep players who were not drafted in the first round and their draft round is not null, meaning that they were drafted. So as we come and look through our lists, most all of our players are going to be draft round 2, except we are going to have one who's in draft round 3. And hey, that's Anthony Mason, who we're going to end up with on our list at the end. But we do need to be able to go back and add in our draft info as well. So let's take a look at that again. So we have our draft info, and we're gonna go ahead and join based on the year and the year that the player was drafted. So we don't want to match up year to year because our field called the year was actually, if you'll remember, the year that they were in the All-Star game. So we want to match up the draft year, which we created using our regex tool, number 47, and we're going to want to join that up with the year. All right, so our output from that is going, in our join tool, we're going to clean up our data as well. So we're going to go ahead and knock off that year of the All-Star game. I talked about some of this extra data earlier that we're not going to need. The position, height, weight, team, selection type, the year from the draft table. We're just going to go ahead and knock all that off. We're going to change a couple different data types as well so that we can deal with them a little bit more easily. So next up, we're going to go ahead and create a formula. And because I can look at my list here pretty easily, I can see that I'm only going to have just Anthony Mason and then everybody else drafted in round 2. And I also know that this isn't going to change in the future because the NBA has just got 2 rounds of the draft. And if they do end up changing that, we can come in and change this formula tool. But overall, we don't need to make this solution crazy dynamic because this isn't something that changes often or something that is going to change without notice, right? So we know that the NBA draft happens every year in June or whenever it is, and so we don't have to worry about that. So in this formula, we're going to look at our overall pick, which is going to be a new field that we're going to create. And we're going to say if our draft round equals 3, then we're going to add our pick number plus all of the picks in round 2 plus all of the picks in round 1. Otherwise, we're just going to add our pick number plus all of the picks that we had in round 1, which is going to give us our new field that has our overall pick here. Some of these guys, though, like Manu Ginobili and Isaiah Thomas, have made multiple All-Star games. So we've got to go ahead and summarize our data. So we're going to group by our player, we're going to group by their overall pick, and then we're going to group by their NBA draft status. And we're going to rename this to drafted because that's what Alteryx did when they gave us the answer. We want to go ahead and sort those overall in descending order. We want to grab the first 3, which are our top biggest numbers, and we have our answer, which is Isaiah Thomas, Manu Ginobili, and Anthony Mason. Thanks for doing this challenge with me today. Have a great week.